working on building his professional exchange program. Together, they created a unique and specialized program for Ivo titled U.S. Foreign Policy and Human Rights Issues. Based on his own life experience, Ivo wanted to study 3 specific issues. 1, he wanted to learn how the U.S. judicial system manages human and civil rights, to study firsthand how grassroots non-governmental organizations seek to influence human rights policies at the national, state, and local level, and number 3, to witness government-based programs in action at the local level. Seems pretty simple, right? Well, at this point, Ivo's program was made known to the National Council for International Visitors. The National Council for International Visitors is a nonprofit association with 50 years of leadership in citizen diplomacy. You're going to get to meet Dr. Sherry Mueller in just a few minutes, who has been our esteemed leader for the last 16 years. NCIV serves the international exchange community and helps build person-to-person relationships, as we say, one handshake at a time. The NCIV network consists of 93 local centers for international visitors around the United States, from well-developed organizations in large cities like Philadelphia, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, to small, all-volunteer-based organizations like Minot, North Dakota, Bozeman, Montana, and Portland, Maine, where a real slice of American culture can be seen. And of course, my favorite of all, the Arizona Council for International Visitors, which has just 1 full-time employee to keep it all together. And I would like for Sue Reiner, our Executive Director and CEO, to stand and be recognized. For the last 20 years, Sue has been engaged in building professional programs for international visitors throughout our state, in all of our cities, at all levels of government, within every discipline and industry imaginable, and she is the glue that holds our local organization together. But the Arizona Council and the other councils that I mentioned constitute over 80,000 volunteers from around the United States that keep our program running on a daily basis. So I suppose at this point you've guessed that Ivo was fortunate enough to be selected to travel to Arizona. On January 31st, 2002, Ivo departed Zagreb, Croatia, for Washington, D.C. on a journey that would soon change his life forever. He stayed a few days in D.C. before traveling to New York, Cincinnati, San Antonio, Phoenix, and finally Denver. Ivo hit the ground running in Arizona on Friday, February the 8th, where his entire first day was spent with the office of our then Attorney General, Janet Napolitano. After an hour of polite introductions and conversations with the AG, Ivo met for 2 hours with Napolitano's Director of Public Advocacy, then an hour with the Director of the Victim Rights Section, then an hour with the Civil Rights Section, and then finally a roundtable discussion with the Capital Case Commission to debate the death penalty in the United States. I guess you could say that Ivo was able to check item number 1 off his list on the very first day. Home hospitality. My story wouldn't be complete if I failed to mention home hospitality. Nearly every visitor that travels to the United States under the IVLP for one night during their stay in the host city is invited to an American home for dinner. We're not talking about linen napkins and filet mignon or champagne. We're talking about real American hospitality, barbecue, kids, dogs, football, perhaps even a beer or 2. These are perhaps the most important stories, and they're certainly the most memorable stories, for it's much harder for people with a predisposition to dislike Americans to maintain those feelings once they know us, once they've visited us in our home, and once they've broken bread. When someone joins AZCIV, and this is my pitch for membership, you'll find documents in the back if you'd like to join. They complete a questionnaire asking about countries of interest, languages spoken, issues that they're interested in, a variety of different demographic questions. And Sue, in turn, does her very best to arrange home hospitality based upon those answers. Now, I love this part of the story, and it's so coincidental, because in the case of Evo, Sue couldn't have done any better when she partnered Evo with Dr. George and Susie Stavros. And for those of you who don't know George and Susie Stavros, they have hosted literally hundreds of international visitors in their home over the years. Not only are they the kindest and gentlest couple, but they're one of the most entertaining that we've had the opportunity to call part of our family. Now, I know George and Susie were on their way back up from a humanitarian mission in Rocky Point tonight. I'm not certain that they're in the house, but if they are, I would like for them to stand and be recognized as well. And if not, we can honor them with our applause. Now, rolling into Evo's weekend, since his program started on a Friday, Sue, like she has done for countless other visitors, made arrangements on Saturday for Evo to visit the Grand Canyon, courtesy of Rusty Madison. Rusty Madison has been our tour guide, our resident driver, our currency exchange, our balladeer, and occasionally a triage nurse, and an all-around good guy and citizen diplomat for the last 20 years. So I would ask for Rusty to stand and be celebrated for his contribution this evening. Rusty? All the way in the back. Okay. Okay, I have to get moving with Evo's story. So on Monday, Evo spent the morning with the city of Scottsdale, first being greeted by the mayor, and then with department heads in social services, human resources, diversity, community outreach, followed by lunch with the mayor and council members. I guess you could check box number 2 off of Evo's agenda. Evo's fast-paced third day consisted of meetings with Chicanos por la Causa, Head Start, the Family Resource Center, Clinica Al Dente, and even an after-school recreation program. Evo could now check the third and final box off of his list. We had to say goodbye to Evo on Wednesday. He still had more traveling to do, but it certainly wouldn't be the last that we heard from Evo. He returned to Croatia on February the 22nd and quickly got back to work. I want to share just a few of the things that Evo accomplished upon his return. He soon represented Croatia before the International Court of Justice. He participated in the evaluation and overhaul of the prison system in Croatia, Ukraine, and Mongolia. He built a platform as a social democrat, developed international associations with NATO and the Council of Europe. He fought to normalize relations with neighboring countries, established intensive economic, cultural, and political cooperation within the region. And within 1 year of his trip to the United States, he ran for and was elected to the national parliament, where he fought for universal human rights, the protection of rights for national minorities, championed the prosecution of war criminals, and promoted justice as the foundation for his state's organization. He changed his party affiliation, fought for women's rights, sustained a platform committed to social justice, but Evo wasn't done there. In fact, I shouldn't be referring to him as Evo at all. I should be referring to him as the President of the Republic of Croatia, for that is his title today. President Ivo Josipovic was elected as the third president of the new democracy in Croatia by a wide margin, and today enjoys a consistent approval rating of over 70%. He is a friend and an ally of the United States, and I am proud that he was a participant in the International Visitor Leadership Program, and I'm proud that he visited our great state. Now, ladies and gentlemen, purely by coincidence, we are honored to have 4 IVLP participants from Croatia joining us in the audience this evening, and I would ask that they stand and be recognized. Perhaps in less than a decade, just like Evo, one of you will follow in his shoes. Ladies and gentlemen, This is citizen diplomacy. It happens 5,000 times each year, every day, in big cities and in small towns, with politicians, with business leaders, with journalists, with average, everyday Americans. Citizen diplomats welcome and receive these international visitors to share with them just a small piece of themselves and leave them with lasting memories. This is citizen diplomacy, and it's beautiful, and it works, and it's worthy of our celebration tonight. Thank you. I hope that provided just a bit of background on the work that takes place on a daily basis, not only here in Arizona, but throughout the United States. It's now my pleasure to introduce those that you did come here to hear speak. I got to know Dr. Sherry Mueller about 10 or 15 years ago. I started with the program as an intern and started going to national meetings in Washington, D.C., and I was captivated by Sherry's humor and grace and confidence, and her ability to maintain a sense of calm under any situation. She was truly born for this role, and for, as I said earlier, for the last 16 years, she has been at the helm of our organization in Washington, D.C., until she just recently retired this last month. Sherry, it's truly my honor and pleasure to invite you to join me on stage tonight.
Kyle, thank you for that gracious introduction. I'm just really thrilled to be here in this incredible facility and to be part of this summit on citizen diplomacy. And I want to thank the leaders of the Arizona Council for International Visitors. Doug Brunke, you just took over the gavel from Marty Day. And I know there are many board members in the audience, and I want to thank you for your leadership. And also want to say to Sue Reiner, it's just a privilege to be here again to help cheerlead the wonderful organization that is now known as the Arizona Council for International Visitors. The meticulous planning and detail that has gone into this summit is really something I admire tremendously, and I want to thank all of you who've been involved in making the summit happen. Just really want to thank you for the attention to detail and everything you're doing. And as some of you know, it's a real pleasure for me to come back to Arizona. And I came as a child. My dad had a wonderful friend who worked for Fred Harvey, and I came every year on an annual family vacation and went to the J.C. Rodeo of Rodeos and Green Gables Restaurant and Mystery Castle, and took a mule trip down the Grand Canyon. And it's really a pleasure to share this stage with Congressman Quayle, because my family first took me to Wickenburg, Arizona to vacation at the Flying E Dude Ranch back in 1964, and I'll be there again next week. And it's a special personal privilege to be here. I know that Congressman Quayle's family has deep roots in Wickenburg, and it's just wonderful to have this summit, this very first summit on citizen diplomacy in a state that means so much to me and my family. And Alma, my colleague from the Department of State, I just want to say it's great to share the podium with you as well. You provide exemplary leadership for the International Visitor Leadership Program in Washington, and Alma has a true sense of this unique public-private sector partnership that makes this program that Kyle described so well happen. And want to just